Hello and welcome again to yet another episode. In this episode, we'll take up a new book that is from the south, or more specifically from Kerala. The author of this book is a well known name, a sage and holy man of Kerala by name Sri Vidyadhiraja Chattambi Swamikal. The title of the book is in Malayalam, it is Jivakarunya Nirupanam, which in English can be translated as compassion for other living beings. Before we take up the book, a word about the Swamiji. He was born in 1853 near Thiruvananthapuram. He lived for about 70 years in Kerala and he left this world in 1924, exactly 100 years ago. So this book happens to be one which was written more than 100 years back. His is a household name in the southern parts of Kerala because of the many miracles he used to perform during his lifetime. Apart from these miracles, he was a multifaceted personality. He was a great scholar. He was a great intellectual. Besides, his was the first voice of protest against discriminations practiced on the basis of caste. It was later taken up by one of his devotees, Sri Narayana Guru, and he became very famous as a social reformer of Kerala. He knew at least three languages very well: Malayalam, Tamil, and Sanskrit. He wrote in Malayalam. He is said to have written a number of books. Many of them have been lost, and we have been lucky to retrieve a few, and which show to us what a genius he was. He wrote on the early history of Kerala and demolished this fallacy of Parashurama creating Kerala and also the assumed superiority of certain castes in Kerala. He wrote on how the first language on earth evolved. He wrote on the Vedas, often submitting them to searing criticism. He was almost a revolutionary sage. He had three main disciples. Disciples in the sense that it was only on these three that he had bestowed his mantra that he had obtained from another guru of his own. This mantra diksha is the greatest gift a guru can give to a disciple. And these three people have been very lucky to receive it from him. And they have distinguished themselves in the history of Kerala, mainly in spirituality as well as in social reformation. Two of them confined themselves totally to spirituality, while the third, Sri Narayana Guru, ventured into the field of social reformation. Now we will take up the book. It is a very small book. The theme of the book is non-violence, or more specifically, it is compassion for living beings. And this book could not have been written by somebody else because all his life he objected to the slightest harm that anybody could do to even the smallest of creatures like an ant or even a fly. The thing of living beings takes place on a larger scale in this world. The strongest animal kills the weakest animal for food. The man kills other living beings for food as well as for other reasons. Violence takes place without any feeling of compunction or any trace of compassion in this world. Suppose, let us assume that man stops killing all of a sudden. Will he become non-violent? Swamiji says no, he will not become non-violent just because he takes only vegetarian food. Because even vegetarian food, vegetables, grains, fruits, etc., all these carry life in them. And when he consumes them, when he cooks them or consumes them, he commits this crime of violence against them. So there is a trace of violence there in these activities. Suppose he gives up food altogether and decides to live only by taking water. Even then, he cannot escape this violence because water contains microorganisms. They will be getting destroyed in the process of drinking it. And even if he gives up drinking water and just decides to live by his breath alone, even then he commits the same crime, and so he will not be non-violent. So one has to assume that this world is designed by God as a playground for violence. But Swamiji says that it is not so. It is for the very opposite purpose that this world is designed. That is for total compassion and total non-violence. Let us examine how it is possible. So you see, all living beings can be classified into 5 or 6 categories. Living beings with just one sense alone, namely the sense of touch. Living beings with 2 senses, namely the sense of touch and taste. And those, number 3, those with the senses of touch, taste, and sight. Then 4, those with the senses of touch, taste, sight, and hearing. Number 5, all the 5 senses. The senses of touch, taste, smell, sight, and hearing. And man has got all these 5 senses plus one extra sense, that is his 6th sense called the mind. Killing involves actually 2 things. First is the pain it inflicts upon the victim. So the pain felt by the victim depends upon the number of senses that particular living being possesses. Because it is almost proportional to the number of senses it holds. Consequently, a creature with one sense experiences the least pain, and a creature with 5 senses experiences the most pain. Man with the 6 senses also experiences the greatest pain when getting killed. This is one aspect of it. Secondly, it involves a much more serious issue. To understand that, we'll have to understand the principle of Indian spirituality. It is that all living beings are on a journey to an ultimate perfection through repeated rebirths, reincarnations. In these reincarnations, it takes up many forms. In one life, it may be born as a plant, in another, it may be as a tree, in the third, it may be as a worm, in the fourth, it may be as a bird, in the fifth, it may be as an animal, and the sixth, he may be born as a human being. Even there are various categories: rich human being, poor human being, evil human being, righteous human being. And he passes through all these life forms before he reaches this stage of perfection, ultimate perfection. Only after being born as a man, one can attain this goal of perfection. By perfection, what is meant is unity with the universal spirit. When the individual self merges with the universal spirit, it is said that we have reached the stage of ultimate perfection. While killing, what happens is you are interrupting this journey of that particular being. Swamiji says that this is the greatest harm one can do that being, that living being. So once you interrupt that journey, the rule is that this creature has to take birth again in the same life form in which it was not able to complete these years. And it has to take this life form and live out the balance of time it was not permitted to complete in the last life. So this is the greatest harm one can do to that particular living being. It delays this process. So one has to avoid this. So killing has to be avoided on these two counts. One is by second, this interruption that is caused to this journey. That is why it is said ahimsa paramo dharma, which means total nonviolence is the highest form of dharma. We have already seen that even if you decide to live only by your breath, you are not escaping violence. Then to achieve 100% non-violence or 100% compassion, one has to give up even breathing. Then what is the purpose of it? Without breath, you cannot live at all. That means death. But here Swamiji says there is a way, there is a technique by which one can go on living without breathing, without food, without breathing. This is a technique known only to the yogis. Yogis are people who have attained this stage of perfection or who have identified themselves solely with this universal self. And the first step in this journey, therefore, is to give up meat eating. Then all that is required is a deep desire to become one with the universal spirit. Then all the rest follows. So everybody tries for that. The demands we make on our ecology, the demands we make on our external world will be going on dwindling. And the preservation of our ecology will be enhanced to that extent. And slowly the ecology will be preserved to a degree of 100%. Then in that case, all the strife, the wars that we see in this world will not be there. All the misery that we see in this world will not be there. Because every human being will be on this path. And finally, some people reaches this ultimate stage. So in that stage, this world becomes totally peaceful and full of happiness. There won't be any Putin's or Zelensky's or Netanyahu's and Hamas and Trump's and Khamenei's.